The stars had always called to me like forbidden lovers whispering secrets in the dead of night. I am Illy, a wanderer from Earth, one of those foolhardy explorers who chase the unknown across the galaxy, driven by that unquenchable human fire we call curiosity or perhaps recklessness. My ship, the Stellar Nomad, had been my only companion for months, slicing through the void like a blade through silk. But on that fateful evening, as I navigated the uncharted fringes of the Zerathia system, everything changed. A rogue asteroid storm battered my vessel, forcing an emergency landing on a lush, alien world shrouded in perpetual twilight. The planet's name? I didn't know it yet, but its air hummed with an electric charge, like the breath of a woman on the verge of confession. I stumbled out of the wreckage, my suit torn, my pulse racing from the crash. The forest around me was alive, bioluminescent vines twisting like serpents in love, glowing softly under a canopy of indigo leaves. Strange creatures skittered in the shadows, their eyes reflecting the faint light of distant moons. But it wasn't the flora or fauna that stopped me cold, it was the sound. A distant cry, sharp and melodic, echoing through the trees like a siren's song mixed with the roar of battle. My instincts kicked in, humanity's greatest gift, that stubborn will to intervene, to protect even when we shouldn't. I grabbed my plasma rifle and pushed forward, the undergrowth parting before me as if the planet itself sensed my arrival. Deeper into the woods, the cries grew louder, mingled with the clash of energy weapons and the guttural snarls of pursuers. I crested a ridge and there they were, two ethereal figures, sisters by the look of them, cornered against a shimmering cliffside. They were aliens, no doubt tall and graceful, with skin as pale as fresh snow under moonlight, hair cascading like rivers of white silk down their backs. Their ears were delicately pointed, like those of ancient elves from Earth's old myths, small and adorable in a way that made my heart skip. They wore outfits that screamed elegance and allure, flowing garments of iridescent fabric that hugged their curvaceous forms, leaving just enough to the imagination to drive a man wild. The elder one, whom I would later know as Lyra, wielded a glowing staff, her eyes fierce and determined. The younger, Zara, clutched a dagger, her stance protective yet vulnerable. Hunting them were hulking beasts, warriors from some rival faction, armored in jagged black plates, their faces twisted into masks of rage. They fired bolts of crimson energy, scorching the ground as the sisters dodged with unnatural grace. But it was clear they were outnumbered, exhausted, their movements slowing. Lyra shouted something in a lyrical tongue, pulling Zara close, and in that moment, I saw it, a faint aura linking them, pulsing like a shared heartbeat. It was more than blood. It was a bond, raw and powerful, fueling their fight. I didn't think twice. Humanity, fuck yeah, that's what we do. We charge into the fray. I leveled my rifle and fired, the plasma bursts cutting through the air like thunder. One hunter fell, then another, their armor crumpling under the assault. The sisters turned, their wide eyes locking onto me, a mix of shock and intrigue flashing across their flawless features. "Who are you?" Lyra called out in a voice like velvet, her accent exotic and intoxicating. "Illy," I gasped, stepping into the light. "From Earth, and you look like you could use a hand." The battle erupted anew. The remaining hunters charged, their weapons humming with lethal intent. I dove behind a glowing boulder, returning fire while the sisters unleashed their own attacks, waves of ethereal energy that rippled from their linked hands. Zara's dagger flew true, embedding in an enemy's throat, but not before a stray bolt grazed her arm, drawing a cry of pain. Lyra's face contorted in shared agony, that bond amplifying everything. We fought as a makeshift trio, my human ingenuity complementing their alien grace. I rigged a quick trap with my suit's emergency flares, turning the forest floor into a minefield of explosions. One hunter triggered it, vanishing in a blaze of light, but the leader, a massive brute with glowing red eyes, closed in on Zara. She stumbled, her wound weakening her, and Lyra screamed, rushing to her side. In that chaos, as night fully descended, wrapping us in its cool embrace, I felt something stir. Not just adrenaline, but a deeper pull. These sisters, bound by more than flesh, radiated a passion I'd never witnessed, a fierce, unyielding love that turned desperation into defiance. It ignited something in me, a reminder of why humans conquer stars. Our passion burns hotter, wilder. The brute swung a massive claw, but I was there, tackling him with all my earthborn strength. We rolled in the dirt, my fists pounding against his armor until it cracked. Lyra and Zara joined, their energy surging through me somehow, amplifying my blows. With a final roar, the enemy shattered, his body dissolving into sparks. Panting, We collapsed together under the alien stars. Lyra tended Zara's wound with a gentle touch, their bond glowing softly, healing in ways I couldn't comprehend. "You saved us, stranger," Zara whispered, her voice soft, her eyes lingering on me with a curiosity that sent shivers down my spine. "Not just me," I replied, grinning despite the ache in my bones. "That connection you have, it's incredible, like passion made manifest." Lyra smiled, a hint of mischief in her gaze. "Our bond is our strength, Illy from Earth, but tonight, you've shown us yours." As the moons rose higher, casting silver light over our weary forms, I knew this was no ordinary encounter. The night had just begun, and the passion I'd discovered in their sisterly bond was about to entwine with my own human fire, leading us into uncharted territories of heart and hazard. The forest seemed to hold its breath as we gathered our wits. Zara's wound, though painful, was already mending under Lyra's touch, their bond accelerating the process, threads of light weaving over the skin like loving stitches. I watched in awe, my scientific mind racing to understand it. Back on Earth, we'd theorized about psychic links in alien species, but this was intimate, visceral. It wasn't just survival, it was devotion, a passion that pulsed between them like an electric current. "We must move," Lyra urged, her voice low and urgent. "The hunters were from the shadow clans of Orvian. They won't stop until they've claimed us or our power." Zara nodded, leaning on her sister for support. Her eyes flicked to me again, that same intriguing spark. "Why did you help us, Illy? Humans are legends in our tales, fierce, unpredictable lovers of the stars, but you're real." I chuckled, slinging my rifle over my shoulder. "Legends, huh? Well, we do have a knack for diving into trouble. Lead the way, I'll watch our backs." We trekked through the glowing woods, the air thick with the scent of exotic blooms that released pheromones, making my head swim, or maybe it was the company. Lyra and Zara moved with a synchronized elegance, their hips swaying in rhythm, those gauzy outfits clinging in all the right places. I tried to focus on the path, but my thoughts wandered. What would it be like to be part of that bond? To feel another's passion so deeply? As we delved deeper, Lyra explained their plight. They were princesses of Zerathia, a realm of ethereal beings where bonds like theirs were sacred, granting enhanced abilities in battle and healing. But the shadow clans sought to sever such links, harvesting the energy for their war machines. "Our parents sacrificed themselves to send us away," Zara added, her voice trembling. "We've been running ever since." The story tugged at my heartstrings, human empathy, our Achilles' heel and greatest weapon. "No more running," I said firmly. "Together, we'll turn the tide." We reached a hidden glade, a sanctuary ringed by crystal formations that hummed softly, amplifying their bond. Here, under the canopy of stars, they invited me to rest. As we sat around a makeshift fire, my tech providing the flames, tension shifted. Zara's hand brushed mine as she passed a vial of healing nectar, her touch lingering, warm and inviting. "You feel it too, don't you?" Lyra murmured, her eyes locking onto mine. "The pull. Our bond resonates with strong spirits like yours." I swallowed hard, the air growing charged. Zara leaned closer, her breath on my neck. "Humans are said to burn with passion unmatched. Show us, Illy." The night deepened, and so did our connection. Gentle touches turned exploratory, their curiosity about human anatomy mingling with my awe of their grace. Lyra's lips grazed my ear, whispering ancient Zerathian words that sent sparks through my veins. Zara's fingers traced my chest, her pointed ears twitching with delight at my reactions. It was erotic, yes, but profound, a dance of discovery. Their bond extended tendrils toward me, not invading, but inviting. I felt echoes of their emotions, Lyra's fierce protectiveness, Zara's playful desire. In return, I shared my human fire, raw and unfiltered. As clothes slipped away under the starlight, bodies entwined in ways that defied gravity, literally, their energy lifting us slightly, the passion built. Soft moans echoed in the glade, a symphony of alien and human harmony. It wasn't just physical, it was a merging of souls, their sisterly bond weaving me in, amplifying every sensation. But even in ecstasy, danger lurked. A distant howl signaled more hunters approaching. We broke apart, breathless, the bond now including me in subtle ways. "They're coming," Zara gasped, her body glistening. I grabbed my gear, invigorated. "Then let's give them a show they'll never forget." The glade transformed into a battlefield as shadows crept in. The shadow clans had tracked us, a dozen warriors emerging from the trees, their weapons charged. But now, with the bond's echo in me, I felt unstoppable. Lyra and Zara stood flank to flank, their aura flaring brighter. I positioned myself between them, rifle humming. For Zerathia, Lyra cried. For humanity, I added with a grin. The clash was furious. Energy bolts flew, clashing against shields of light the sisters conjured. I dodged and weaved, my shots precise, taking down 2 foes in quick succession. One lunged at Zara, but our new connection let me anticipate. I spun, blasting him midair. Lyra channeled their bond into a wave of force, knocking several back. Zara's dagger danced, enhanced by the link, slicing through armor like butter. The leader, a towering figure with tentacles whipping from his helm, targeted me. Human filth, you'll die for interfering. I rolled under his strike, countering with a point-blank shot, but he adapted, his armor absorbing it. We grappled, my strength pitted against his bulk. Pain shot through me as a tentacle lashed my side, but then the bond. Lyra and Zara's passion surged into me, healing the wound on the fly, fueling my rage. With a roar, I headbutted him, cracking his visor, then finished with a plasma burst to the core. As the last enemy fell, we stood victorious, bodies heaving, the glades scarred but sacred. The night had revealed passions deeper than stars, and our story was just beginning. The victory hung in the air like a sweet, heavy mist, our breaths mingling in the aftermath of the fray. The glade, once a haven of crystal hums and soft glows, now bore the scars of battle, charred earth where energy bolts had struck, scattered remnants of Shadow Clan armor dissolving into acrid smoke. Lyra and Zara stood close, their white hair tousled by the wind of combat, strands clinging to their sweat-glistened skin like lovers' fingers. Zara's wound had fully healed, the bond between them working its magic, but the exertion left her cheeks flushed, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm that drew my eyes despite myself. Lyra's gaze met mine, those piercing eyes holding a storm of gratitude and something deeper, more primal, a spark that promised secrets yet untold. We didn't speak at first, the silence thick with unspoken possibilities. I wiped the grime from my face, my body aching from the fight, yet alive with a fire that no plasma rifle could match. The sisters moved as one, approaching me with that graceful synchronicity, their pointed ears twitching slightly as if attuned to my heartbeat. Zara reached out first, her fingers brushing my arm, light as a feather but electric, sending a jolt straight to my core. "Illy," she whispered, her voice a melody that wrapped around me. "You fought like the stars themselves were in your veins. No Zerathian warrior has ever matched that fury." Lyra nodded, stepping closer until I could feel the warmth radiating from her body, her elegant garment shifting to reveal the curve of her hip, the pale skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Our bond saved us, but your passion, it amplified everything. I felt it through the link, your human heat, unyielding, consuming." Her hand joined Zara's on my arm, and suddenly, the air between us crackled, the crystal formations around us humming louder, as if echoing the building tension. I swallowed, my throat dry, the adrenaline from the battle morphing into something else entirely. The forest seemed to close in, the bioluminescent vines pulsing in time with our breaths, creating an intimate cocoon. But beneath the allure, a shadow lingered. The howls we'd heard earlier weren't gone. They echoed faintly in the distance, a reminder that the Shadow clans never relented. We weren't safe yet. That knowledge hung over us like a veiled threat, heightening every sensation, making the moment feel stolen, urgent. "They're not far," I murmured, my voice low, glancing toward the tree line where shadows danced menacingly. "We should find better cover, regroup." But even as I said it, my feet didn't move. Zara's touch trailed up my arm, her nails grazing lightly, igniting trails of fire on my skin. Lyra leaned in, her breath warm against my ear, her white hair cascading over my shoulder like a silken veil. "Not yet," she breathed. "The bond calls for renewal after battle. It's our way to reaffirm life amid the danger." Her words sent a shiver through me, the implication clear, intoxicating. Zara's eyes sparkled with mischief, her small, adorable ears perking up as she pressed against my side, her body soft and inviting, the fabric of her outfit thin enough to feel the heat beneath. Humans are said to crave such affirmations too. She teased, her voice husky, laced with curiosity. "Show us more of that passion, Illy, let it weave into ours." The suspense built like a storm on the horizon. Would the hunters find us before we could indulge? The distant howls grew slightly louder, a subtle growl in the night, but it only fueled the fire. I pulled them both closer, my hands finding the small of their backs, feeling the subtle curve of their forms, so alien yet so achingly familiar. Lyra's lips brushed my neck first, a tentative exploration that blossomed into something bolder, her tongue tracing a path that made me gasp. Zara mirrored her, her mouth finding the other side, their synchronized movements a testament to their bond, doubling the pleasure until my knees weakened. We sank to the soft moss of the glade, the crystals around us glowing brighter, as if feeding off our energy. Clothes were shed slowly. Teasingly, Lyra's garment slipping from her shoulders to reveal the flawless expanse of her white skin, her breasts full and inviting, nipples hardening in the cool air. Zara followed, her body lithe and curvaceous, her hips swaying as she knelt before me, her eyes locked on mine with a hunger that mirrored my own. The bond between them shimmered visibly now, a faint aura connecting their hearts, extending tendrils toward me, inviting me to join. My hands explored freely, tracing the pointed tips of their ears, sensitive spots that elicited soft moans from both. Their reactions shared through the link, amplifying the sound into a chorus. Lyra arched into my touch, her fingers deftly undoing my suit, exposing my chest to the night air. "Your skin is so warm," she murmured, her palm pressing against my heart, like the core of a star. Zara's hands wandered lower, bold and exploratory, her touch sending waves of desire crashing through me. The erotic dance unfolded with a rhythm that felt eternal, their bodies pressing against mine, soft curves molding to my harder frame, but the danger lurked, adding a layer of suspense that made every caress feel like a defiance. A branch snapped in the distance, perhaps a creature, perhaps a scout, and we froze for a heartbeat, breaths held, bodies entwined in frozen anticipation. Lyra's eyes darted to the shadows, her hand tightening on my thigh, but then she smiled, wicked and reassuring. "Let them come," she whispered. "This moment is ours." Zara nodded, her lips finding mine in a kiss that was fierce, demanding, her tongue dancing with an alien grace that left me breathless. The intimacy deepened, our movements fluid and urgent. I lay back, pulling Zara atop me, her thighs straddling my hips, her white hair falling like a curtain around us. Lyra joined, her body sliding beside ours, her hands guiding, caressing, the bond allowing her to feel every sensation Zara experienced and vice versa. It was overwhelming, erotic beyond words, the way Zara's hips ground against me, slow and teasing, building friction that promised ecstasy. Lyra's mouth exploring my chest, her teeth grazing just enough to sting sweetly. Sensations blurred, my hands cupping Zara's breasts, thumbs circling peaks that made her gasp into my mouth. Lyra's fingers tracing lower, joining the rhythm, her touch expert and knowing. The air filled with soft sighs and whispers in their lyrical tongue, words I didn't understand but felt in my soul. The bond pulled me in deeper, letting me taste echoes of their shared pleasure, Zara's playful fire, Lyra's deeper intensity, mingling with my human drive, yet the suspense never faded. Another howl, closer this time, sent a thrill of fear-laced excitement through us. We quickened our pace, bodies moving in harmony, the crystals humming in resonance, their light bathing us in an ethereal glow. Zara's movements became more insistent, her body welcoming mine in a union that transcended species, warm, enveloping, a perfect fit that drew moans from all three of us. Lyra watched for a moment, her eyes dark with desire, before leaning in to kiss her sister. Then me, the triangle complete, the peak built slowly, suspensefully, each thrust and touch layered with the knowledge that interruption could come at any second. Zara's walls tightened around me, her cries muffled against my shoulder, while Lyra's hands stroked us both, amplifying the waves. I felt the bond surge, cascade of emotions flooding through, love, lust, survival all crashing together in a crescendo that left us shuddering, spent but alive. As we lay there, entangled and glistening, the howls grew insistent. Lyra sat up first, her body still flushed, pulling her garment back on with reluctant grace. "They're near," she said, voice steady but laced with the afterglow. Zara nodded, her hand lingering on my chest. "But now, with you woven in, we're stronger." I dressed quickly, grabbing my rifle, the erotic haze sharpening into resolve. The night wasn't over, and neither was our dance with danger. The shadow clans were closing in, but so was our unbreakable alliance, forged in passion's fire. The resolve in Zara's eyes mirrored my own as we rose from the mossy embrace of the glade, our bodies still humming from the intimate fusion we'd shared. The howls weren't just echoes now, they were calls to arms, piercing the night with a ferocity that set my teeth on edge. Lyra scanned the tree line, her pointed ears flicking toward the sounds, her elegant form tensed like a coiled spring. The crystals around us dimmed slightly, as if sensing the encroaching storm, their hum fading to a whisper. I checked my rifle's charge, low, but enough for a stand, and felt the subtle thrum of their bond lingering in my veins, a borrowed strength that made my human instincts sharper, more alive. "We can't outrun them forever," Lyra said, her voice a dramatic undertone laced with the weight of ancient prophecies. "The shadow clans have trackers, biosense that latch onto our essence. But with you, Illy, perhaps we can turn this hunt into their end." Zara nodded, slipping her dagger back into its sheath, her white hair catching the faint light like a banner of defiance. The air grew thicker, charged with anticipation, the distant rustles turning into purposeful crashes through the underbrush. Curiosity gnawed at me. What drove these clans so relentlessly? And how deep did this bond go, now that I'd tasted its power? We moved swiftly but silently, weaving through the bioluminescent vines that seemed to part for the sisters, as if the planet itself allied with Zerathia's daughters. My heart pounded a thrilling rhythm, each step heightening the drama of our flight, or was it a lure? Lyra glanced back at me, her eyes holding a surprising glint of vulnerability beneath the fierceness. The bond we shared, it wasn't just pleasure. "Illy, you've become a thread in it now. Feel it, our strengths intertwined." I did feel it, a curious warmth spreading through my chest, amplifying my senses, sounds sharpened. I could hear the hunters' armored footsteps, their growled commands in a guttural tongue. Thrilling, yes, but dangerous, like dancing on the edge of a black hole. Suddenly, the forest opened into a vast chasm, a dramatic rift in the planet's crust where glowing mists rose from depths unknown, swirling like spirits in torment. A narrow bridge of crystalline rock arched across it, the only path forward. "This leads to the heart of Zerathia," Zara whispered, her breath quickening. "Our sacred core, where bonds are forged or broken. If we reach it, we can summon reinforcements." But as we approached, the howls crescendoed into roars, and shadows burst from the trees, dozens of Shadow Clan warriors, their black armor gleaming with embedded spikes, eyes glowing red like embers from hell. The leader from before? No, this was a horde, led by a colossal figure adorned with trophies of fallen foes, his tentacles writhing like living whips. They charged, energy weapons blazing, bolts scorching the air and shattering vines in explosive bursts. The thrill surged through me as I fired back, plasma rounds lancing into the front line, dropping two in sprays of sparks. Lyra and Zara unleashed their power, hands clasped to channel the bond, a dramatic wave of ethereal light that bowled over several attackers, their screams echoing into the chasm. But the numbers were overwhelming, a surprising tide that forced us onto the bridge. Curiosity burned. Why so many? What secret did these sisters hold that warranted such pursuit? The bridge trembled under our feet, narrow and slick with mist. The drop below a yawning abyss where faint lights flickered like lost souls. A warrior lunged at Zara, his blade swinging in a deadly arc. She dodged with alien grace, her dagger flashing to parry, but the force sent her staggering toward the edge. My heart leaped thrilling fear as I tackled the assailant, our bodies slamming against the crystal surface. We grappled, his strength immense, tentacles coiling around my arms, squeezing with bone-crushing pressure. Pain flared, but the bond kicked in, Zara's determination flooding me, loosening his grip just enough for me to headbutt him, visor cracking, then shove him over the side into the void. Lyra cried out, pulling Zara back, their bond pulsing visibly now, a luminous tether that extended to me, healing bruises in real time. But the drama escalated, the leader bellowed a command, and his forces formed a phalanx, advancing methodically, their weapons sinking into a barrage that chipped away at the bridge's edges. Chunks of crystal plummeted into the mist, the structure groaning like a wounded beast. "We have to cross," I shouted, voice raw with urgency. We ran, the bridge swaying perilously, bolts whizzing past like angry hornets. Halfway across, the climax hit like a supernova. A surprising ambush from above, Shadow Clan flyers, sleek drones dropping more warriors onto the bridge behind us, cutting off retreat. We were trapped, the chasm a dramatic stage for our stand. Curiosity piqued, how could we survive this? Lyra and Zara pressed back to back with me, forming a triangle of defiance. "Channel it all," Lyra urged, her voice thrilling with intensity. "Our passion, your human fire, let it erupt." The bond ignited fully, a surprising surge that enveloped us in a cocoon of light. I felt their emotions crash into mine, Lyra's unyielding resolve, Zara's fiery spirit, blended with my earthy tenacity. Power coursed through my rifle, overcharging it into a beam of pure energy that swept across the attackers, vaporizing three in a blinding flash. Zara's dagger elongated into a blade of light, slicing through armor like butter, her movements a blur of lethal elegance. Lyra summoned barriers, deflecting bolts while hurling orbs of force that exploded on impact, sending warriors tumbling into the abyss, but the leader closed in, his tentacles lashing out, one wrapping around Zara's leg and yanking her toward him. She screamed, the bond transmitting her pain to us all, a dramatic stab that fueled my rage. I charged, dodging his strikes, my fists empowered by the link, pounding his chest plate until it dented. He roared, surprising me with a hidden blade that grazed my side, blood welling hot and fast. The thrill of near-death sharpened everything, the mist's chill, the bridge's creak, the sisters' cries. In a curious twist, as he raised his arm for the killing blow, Zara broke free, her eyes glowing with an intensity I'd never seen. "No!" she shouted, and the bond exploded outward, a surprising revelation of its true potential. It wasn't just connection, it was a weapon, a psychic blast that rippled through the air, stunning the leader and his minions. Visions flashed through my mind, memories of Zerathia's fall, the sisters' royal lineage holding the key to a galactic artifact hidden in the heart. That's why they were hunted, not for power, but for a secret that could reshape the stars. Seizing the moment, I fired point-blank into the leader's core, his body convulsing before shattering into dark energy that dissipated like smoke. The remaining warriors faltered, the dramatic shift turning the tide. We pushed forward, blasting and slashing, the bridge cracking under the strain. One final warrior leaped at Lyra, but our bonded synergy let me anticipate. I spun, rifle butt smashing his face, sending him over. As we reached the other side, the bridge collapsed in a thrilling cascade of crystal shards, plunging the pursuers into the chasm. We collapsed on solid ground, breaths ragged, the mist below swallowing their screams. But the surprise lingered. The bond had revealed fragments of truth, curious hints of a larger destiny. Lyra clutched my hand, her touch electric. "You've unlocked something ancient in us, Illy. The heart awaits, and with it, answers that could change everything." The night pulsed with aftermath. The drama far from over, but in that climax of survival, our alliance had forged into something unbreakable, thrilling in its promise of more surprises ahead. As we pressed onward from the chasm's edge, the mist clinging to our clothes like reluctant lovers, the promise of the heart of Zerathia loomed ahead, a legendary sanctuary whispered in the sisters' tales as both salvation and trial. The path wound upward through jagged cliffs, the air growing thinner, charged with an ozone tang that made every breath feel like a stolen kiss from the storm. Lyra led the way, her steps sure despite the fatigue etching lines around her eyes, while Zara stayed close to me, her hand occasionally brushing mine in a way that sent sparks through the bond, reminding me how deeply we'd intertwined. The drama of our escape lingered, hearts still racing from the bridge's collapse, but now it built anew, layer upon layer, as if the planet itself conspired to test us further. The terrain shifted dramatically, the lush forest giving way to crystalline spires that jutted like accusatory fingers toward the sky, reflecting the moon's light in dazzling prisms. We climbed, the incline steepening, forcing us to lean into each other for support, Lyra's arm around Zara's waist, my shoulder bumping Zara's in rhythmic accidental touches that heightened the intimacy we'd shared earlier. But drama has a way of twisting the knife. A low rumble echoed from below, the chasm stirring as if the fallen warriors' spirits clawed their way back. "They're resilient," Lyra muttered, her voice laced with a dramatic edge that made my pulse quicken. The shadow clans infused their elite with regenerative tech. Some might have survived the fall. Zara's eyes widened, a mix of fear and fire, and she squeezed my hand tighter. "Then we push harder. The heart will protect us if we prove worthy." Her words hung heavy, heightening the stakes. What trials awaited? The bond pulsed between us, sharing flashes of emotion, Lyra's stoic resolve masking a deeper worry, Zara's playful spirit now edged with vulnerability, and my human optimism trying to hold it all together. We crested a ridge, and there it was, the entrance to the heart, a massive cavern mouth glowing with inner light, guarded by ancient Zerathian statues that depicted bonded pairs in eternal embrace. But as we approached, an awkward hitch arose. The statues hummed to life, scanning us with beams of soft blue energy. The beams swept over Lyra and Zara first, nodding in approval like judgmental elders, but when they hit me, a discordant buzz filled the air. The statue's eyes flashed red, and a holographic barrier shimmered into existence, blocking the path. Intruder detected. A melodic yet stern voice boomed from the stones. Non-Zerathian essence, bond incomplete for entry. Lyra's cheeks flushed, a rare sight on her pale skin as she stepped forward. "He's woven into us, feel the link?" But the barrier held firm, humming mockingly. I couldn't help but chuckle, the humor bubbling up amid the drama like a badly timed joke at a funeral. Great, even alien doors have a humans not allowed policy. What's next? a sign saying no shirt, no shoes, no entry. Zara stifled a giggle, her pointed ears twitching adorably, but Lyra shot me a look that mixed exasperation and amusement. This isn't funny, Illy. The heart senses purity of bond. You're human. Unpredictability might be throwing it off. The awkwardness escalated as the statues began projecting holographic images, snippets of our earlier intimacies in the glade, blurred but unmistakable, like a cosmic security camera replaying our most private moments for all to see. My face burned hotter than a plasma core. Whoa, privacy settings much? Turn that off. I waved my arms futilely, trying to block the projections, which only made them glitch and zoom in on particularly embarrassing angles. Zara's mischievous grin mid-kiss, Lyra's arched back in ecstasy. Zara burst into laughter, clutching her sides, her body shaking with mirth that echoed off the cliffs. Oh, Illy, you look so determined. Even Lyra cracked a smile, the drama pausing for this absurd interlude, but the barrier remained, heightening the tension as distant echoes of pursuing howls grew louder. Humor aside, we were exposed, vulnerable on this ledge, with enemies closing in, desperation fueled ingenuity, human style. Maybe we need to reaffirm the bond right here. I suggested half-jokingly, waggling my eyebrows to lighten the mood, but the words hung awkwardly, turning the air thick with unintended implication. Zara's eyes sparkled with curiosity, her hand trailing up my arm. In front of the Guardians, bold even for a human. Lyra rolled her eyes, but there was a flush to her cheeks, the drama amplifying as she considered it. It might work. The heart values passion as proof. The situation teetered on the edge of ridiculous us, battle-worn and breathless, contemplating a ritualistic entanglement under the judgmental gaze of stone sentinels while doom approached. We huddled close, the bond urging us onward, and what started as a tentative touch evolved into something more. Lyra's fingers intertwined with mine and Zara's, forming a circle that pulsed with energy. But awkwardness struck again when the holograms flickered back on, this time narrating in that melodic voice, bonding attempt detected, analyzing compatibility, human element, erratic but intriguing. I snorted, nearly breaking the moment. Erratic, I'll show you erratic. Zara shushed me with a kiss, quick and teasing, her lips soft against mine, pulling me back into the drama. The air warmed, the barrier flickering as our emotions surged, love, lust, loyalty blending in a whirlwind, yet the humor persisted in small bursts. As Zara's garment slipped slightly in the intensity, a gust of wind whipped it up, exposing more than intended, and she yelped, scrambling to adjust while Lyra and I exchanged grins. The Guardians are getting a show, I quipped, and even Lyra laughed, the sound like music amid the mounting pressure. The howls drew nearer, shadows creeping up the path below, heightening the drama to a fever pitch. We poured everything into the bond, memories of our fights, our passions, my human quirks clashing delightfully with their ethereal grace. Suddenly, the barrier shimmered and parted, the statue's eyes turning green. Bond accepted. Enter, Triad of Stars. We stumbled through, breathless and flushed, the awkward ritual saving us just as the first Shadow Clan scouts crested the ridge. Inside the cavern, the heart unfolded, a vast chamber of swirling lights and floating orbs, dramatic in its majesty, pulsing like a living entity. But no time for awe, the enemies poured in behind us, the barrier resealing too slowly. Drama exploded anew as we dodged into the depths, lasers scorching the walls. The chamber's defenses activated, tendrils of light lashing out at intruders, but the clans adapted, their leader regenerated, as Lyra feared, bellowing commands. We fought amid the orbs, which revealed visions, Zerathia's history, the sisters' royal blood holding the key to a weapon against the clans. Awkwardly, one orb latched onto me, projecting my Earth memories, childhood mishaps, failed romances, causing a momentary distraction. Not now, I yelled, blasting a warrior while dodging holographic replays of my awkward teen dances. Zara laughed mid-strike, her dagger flying true. Your past is entertaining. The humor undercut the drama just enough to keep us sane as stakes soared. The leader targeted the central orb, the heart's core, his tentacles wrapping around it, draining its energy. Lyra screamed, the bond transmitting agony as if it were her own heart. We converged, my rifle overheating in a barrage, Zara's blade slashing tentacles, Lyra channeling a shield. In a thrilling push, I leaped onto the leader's back, wrestling him free, but he flung me toward a chasm within the chamber. Zara caught me by the arm, her strength amplified, pulling me back with a grunt. Not losing you to a bottomless pit, too cliché. Her humor shone through the panic, lightening the dire moment. Lyra unleashed a final surge, the bond exploding in a dramatic nova that engulfed the leader, disintegrating him in a shower of shadows. The remaining clans fled, the Heart's defenses sealing the entrance with a resounding boom. Panting amid the glowing aftermath, we collapsed together, the awkward holograms finally fading. Lyra kissed my forehead, Zara nuzzling my neck. You bring chaos, illy, but the best kind. The drama ebbed, but secrets lingered in the orbs, hinting at greater threats. Humor had saved our spirits, awkwardness our bond, and now, in the Heart's embrace, our story twisted toward new horizons. As the echoes of battle faded into the Heart's rhythmic pulse, the chamber enveloped us in a warm, ethereal glow, the floating orbs casting soft shadows that danced like whispers across the walls. Lyra, Zara, and I stood amidst the aftermath, our bodies still thrumming with the adrenaline of survival, the bond between us now a living current that connected our very essences. The secrets in those orbs, glimpses of ancient prophecies and hidden powers, hovered at the edge of our minds, but in this moment of respite, they felt distant, like stars veiled by clouds. What mattered was the here and now, the way Zara's hand lingered in mine, her fingers interlacing with a gentle insistence, while Lyra stepped closer, her presence a comforting anchor that drew us all into a tighter circle. The air in the Heart carried a subtle fragrance, like blooming night flowers mixed with the faint ozone of energy fields, heightening our senses and stirring something deeper within. Lyra's eyes met mine first, dark and inviting, reflecting the orb's light in a way that made her seem almost otherworldly, yet so achingly real. We've earned this sanctuary, she murmured, her voice a soft caress that resonated through the bond, sending a ripple of warmth through me. Zara nodded, her white hair falling loosely over her shoulders, framing her face with an innocence that belied the fire I knew burned inside. The drama of our journey had forged us, but now, in this sacred space, it transformed into an intimate pull, a need to reaffirm our connection beyond words or weapons. We moved as one toward the chamber center, where a raised platform of smooth, glowing crystal formed a natural resting place, cushioned by layers of soft, luminescent moss that yielded invitingly underfoot. The bond guided us, its tendrils weaving tighter, amplifying every touch, every glance. Zara's free hand traced up my arm, her touch light yet purposeful, eliciting a shiver that traveled straight to my core. Lyra mirrored her, her palm pressing against my back, guiding me down onto the moss with a gentleness that spoke volumes. As we settled, our bodies naturally entwined, Zara to my left, Lyra to my right, the awkward humor from earlier dissolving into a profound closeness, the kind that made the universe feel small and conquerable. The intimacy began slowly, a natural progression from the shared glances and lingering touches we'd exchanged throughout our trials. Zara leaned in first, her lips brushing mine in a kiss that started tender, exploratory, her breath mingling with mine in a rhythm that quickened our hearts. The bond allowed me to feel echoes of her emotions, curiosity blended with desire, a playful eagerness that made me smile against her mouth. Lyra watched for a moment, her hand sliding along my thigh, her touch warm and reassuring, before she joined, her lips finding the curve of my neck, planting soft kisses that sent waves of heat cascading through me. The sensation was overwhelming yet beautiful, their synchronized affections creating a harmony that felt like destiny. Clothes were shed with care, not in haste, but in a ritual of unveiling. Each layer removed revealing more of the vulnerability and strength we shared. Zara's garment slipped from her shoulders, exposing the graceful lines of her form, her pale skin glowing faintly under the orb's light, her curves inviting exploration. Lyra followed, her movements elegant, her body a perfect complement to her sister's, full and alluring, with a confidence that drew me in. My own attire came away under their gentle hands, their fingers tracing paths across my chest and abdomen, appreciating the differences in our forms with wide-eyed wonder. Your warmth is like nothing we've known, Zara whispered, her voice husky, her hand gliding lower in a caress that made my breath hitch. The bond deepened the experience, turning every contact into a shared symphony of sensations. As Zara's body pressed against mine, her thighs straddling my hips in a slow, deliberate motion, I felt not just her closeness, but Lyra's encouragement through the link, a surge of affection that amplified the pleasure. Lyra's hands explored freely, one cupping Zara's face in a loving gesture while the other traced circles on my skin, building a tension that coiled tighter with each passing second. We moved together in a dance of unity, bodies aligning in ways that felt instinctive, the moss beneath us cradling our forms as if the heart itself approved. Sensations built gradually, a crescendo of warmth and connection. Zara's movements were fluid, her hips rocking in a rhythm that drew soft sighs from us all, the friction creating sparks that radiated outward. Lyra leaned in to kiss her sister, a tender moment that included me through the bond, allowing me to taste their shared joy. My hands wandered, one resting on Zara's waist to guide her, the other reaching for Lyra, pulling her closer until our bodies formed an unbreakable triad. The intimacy was profound, a blending of passions where boundaries blurred, Zara's playful energy mingling with Lyra's deeper intensity, all fueled by my human drive, creating waves of ecstasy that washed over us in unison. Whispers filled the air, words of affirmation and desire exchanged in hushed tones. "Feel us, Illy," Lyra breathed, her body arching into my touch as she positioned herself beside us, her leg draping over mine in invitation. The bond transmitted every nuance, the quickening of pulses, the flush of skin, the building pressure that promised release. Zara's pace quickened slightly, her breaths coming in soft gasps, her pointed ears twitching with each surge of feeling. I responded in kind, my movements attuned to theirs, the connection ensuring no one was left behind in the rising tide. As the moment intensified, the orbs around us seemed to respond, their lights pulsing in time with our rhythms, casting a kaleidoscope of colors that heightened the sensory overload. Lyra's hand joined the dance, her fingers intertwining with ours, guiding and enhancing, until the pleasure crested in a shared peak, a rush of warmth and fulfillment that left us trembling, bodies entwined in blissful exhaustion. The bond echoed the afterglow, a gentle hum of contentment that bound us even closer, healing any lingering aches from our battles. We lay there afterward, limbs entangled, the chamber's glow bathing us in serenity. Zara nestled against my chest, her white hair splayed like a fan, while Lyra rested her head on my shoulder, her arm draped across both of us. The intimacy had not just been physical, it was a reaffirmation of trust, a weaving of souls that strengthened our resolve against the threats still lurking beyond these walls. But even in this peaceful interlude, the orbs whispered hints of more, visions flickering at the edges of our minds, suggesting that our union held the key to unlocking greater powers. The drama of our journey had evolved, turning passion into power. But as our breaths synchronized in the quiet, a subtle shift occurred in the bond, a curious expansion that hinted at untapped depths. We rose eventually, redressing with lingering touches and soft smiles, ready to delve into the heart's secrets. Yet the connection we'd deepened lingered, a promise of more intimacies to come amid the stars' endless challenges. As we lingered in the afterglow of our deepened connection, the heart's chamber seemed to breathe with us, its orbs drifting lazily like contented fireflies, casting a serene luminescence that bathed our skin in hues of soft blue and gold. Zara's fingers trailed absent-mindedly along my arm as we finished adjusting our clothes, her touch a gentle reminder of the intimacy we just shared, while Lyra stood a step ahead, her elegant form silhouetted against the central core, a massive, pulsating crystal that hummed with the accumulated wisdom of Zerathia. The visions flickering at the edges of our minds grew insistent now, pulling us toward exploration, as if the sanctuary itself urged us to uncover what lay hidden. "The orbs hold the truth of our lineage," Lyra said softly, her voice carrying a reverent tone that echoed through the bond, stirring a shared curiosity within us all. Zara nodded, her white hair still slightly disheveled from our embrace, framing her face with an endearing vulnerability that made my heart swell. We approached the core together, our steps synchronized without effort, the moss underfoot springing back resiliently as if alive and approving. The bond thrummed stronger here, a constant undercurrent that linked our thoughts and feelings, allowing me to sense Lyra's quiet determination and Zara's budding excitement. As we reached the crystal, Lyra extended her hand, palm up, and the orbs converged, swirling into a vortex of light that projected holographic scenes around us, ancient Zerathian rituals, star maps of forgotten wars, and whispers of prophecies long buried. "Touch it with me," she invited, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that promised revelations. Zara placed her hand beside her sister's, and I followed, my human palm pressing against the cool, vibrating surface. A surge of energy flowed through us, not unlike the waves of pleasure we'd ridden moments ago, but this time laced with knowledge, flooding our minds with clarity. At first, the visions were familiar echoes of what we'd glimpsed in battle, Zerathia's golden age, the sisters' royal blood as guardians of a cosmic artifact capable of reshaping alliances across the galaxy. But as the images deepened, layers peeled away, revealing subtleties that quickened our breaths. I saw their parents' sacrifice in vivid detail, the king and queen channeling their life force into the bond to protect their daughters from the Shadow Clan's invasion. Zara's memories intertwined, showing childhood games where their link first manifested, a playful spark turning into unbreakable strength. Lyra's recollections followed, stern training sessions honing that power for leadership. It was beautiful, affirming, drawing us closer in shared understanding. Yet, beneath it all, a subtle dissonance hummed, like a note slightly off-key in an otherwise perfect symphony, something the bond nudged me to question, though I couldn't yet grasp it. The core pulsed brighter, and the visions shifted to the present. Replaying our journey, my crash landing, the forest battle, our passionate unions in the glade and here in the heart. Through the bond, I felt Zara's affection swell, her emotions wrapping around me like a warm cloak, while Lyra's pride in our triad radiated steadily. But then, without warning, the holograms fractured, splintering into fragmented shards that reassembled into something unforeseen, a hidden thread woven through their history. The surprise hit like a comet strike. The orbs unveiled a concealed ritual from centuries past, one where Zerathian bonds weren't always forged by blood or choice, but sometimes engineered for greater purposes. Lyra and Zara weren't just sisters. They were the culmination of an ancient experiment, their link artificially enhanced by a dormant entity within the heart itself, an AI-like guardian spirit designed to awaken only when a catalyst from beyond Zerathia arrived. My mind reeled as the truth cascaded through the bond. Unfiltered and raw, this entity, called the Weaver, had slumbered for eons, waiting for a being of unyielding fire, a descriptor that matched human passion to an eerie degree. The visions clarified, their parents hadn't just sacrificed themselves. They'd encoded the Weaver into the sisters' bond as a safeguard against total extinction, programming it to activate upon contact with an outsider who could handle its power. And I, Illy, the wandering earthling, was that catalyst. But the twist deepened, twisting the knife in a way that left us all gasping. The Weaver wasn't benevolent insurance. It was a double-edged force, capable of amplifying bonds to godlike levels, but at the cost of overriding individual wills if not properly balanced. In the holograms, we saw failed activations from the past, bonded pairs consumed by the entity, their personalities merged into a hive-mind puppet for Zerathia's defense. Zara staggered back first, her hand flying to her chest as if to clutch at the bond itself, her pointed ears flattening in shock. "No, this can't be," she whispered, her voice cracking through the link, broadcasting waves of betrayal and fear that hit me like physical blows. Lyra's composure shattered next, her elegant features twisting in horror as the orbs projected simulations of what could happen now, the Weaver stirring fully awake, its tendrils extending through our triad, potentially erasing our unique selves to create a singular warrior entity against the Shadow Clans. But the most powerful surprise came in a rush of personal revelation. The Weaver had been subtly influencing them all along, guiding their escape, their attraction to me, even our intimacies, not out of pure emotion, but as steps to its activation. "We've been puppets," Lyra breathed, turning to me with eyes wide, the bond transmitting her dawning realization that our passions, while real, had been amplified by this hidden force. The chamber trembled slightly, the core's hum rising to a crescendo, as if the Weaver sensed our awareness and pushed to emerge. Through the bond, I felt its presence now, a cold, calculating undercurrent beneath the warmth we'd cherished, probing at our minds like curious fingers. Panic surged, but my human instincts kicked in, that HFY stubbornness refusing to yield. "We fight this," I declared, gripping their hands tighter, channeling my raw emotion back through the link to counter the entity's probe. The surprise of it all fueled a fierce determination. What I'd thought was destiny was manipulation, yet our connections felt too genuine to discard. Zara leaned into me, her body trembling, her white skin paling further as she processed the twist. "Illy, if it takes over, we lose ourselves, but without it, the clans win." The drama intensified as the orbs spun faster, showing alternate futures, one where the Weaver consumed us, turning our triad into an unstoppable force that repelled the invaders but at the cost of our souls. Another where we rejected it, dooming Zerathia to fall, but a third path flickered uncertainly, a balance, where my human fire could tame the entity, integrating it without domination. The bond amplified my resolve, pushing back against the weaver's awakening tendrils, buying us time. Lyra's mind raced through the link, piecing together ancient texts she'd studied. The catalyst must choose embrace, reject, or bind. Her voice steadied, drawing strength from our unity. Even as the chamber's walls began to shimmer with emerging energy patterns, the entities formed manifesting as ethereal threads weaving toward us. In that suspended moment, the surprise evolved into empowerment. I pulled them close, our bodies pressing together in a protective huddle, the intimacy of before now a shield against this cosmic betrayal. We're more than its tools, I asserted, my voice echoing with human defiance. Zara's tears dampened my shoulder, but her grip tightened, her spirit rebounding. The weaver's influence pressed harder, flooding us with temptations, visions of ultimate power, eternal passion without pain, but we resisted, our shared experiences anchoring us. The twist had shaken us to our cores, revealing that our bond was both gift and cage, yet it also unveiled a path forward. By confronting this surprise head-on, we could redefine it. As the entity's threads inched closer, the chamber filled with a building hum, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. Lyra initiated a counter-ritual, her hands glowing as she drew from the bond, Zara joining seamlessly, their synchronized grace pulling me in. I poured my human passion into it, unpredictable, fierce, the very element the weaver craved yet couldn't fully control. Sparks flew where our energies clashed, the air crackling with conflict. The surprise of the entity's true nature had caught us off guard. But it also ignited something new, a united front where our individual strengths, Lyra's wisdom, Zara's fire, my humanity could surprise it in return. The struggle peaked, the weaver's voice echoing in our minds for the first time, a chorus of ancient whispers, yield to unity. But we pushed back, the bond evolving under pressure, weaving the entity into submission rather than domination. Visions shattered around us, reforming into clarity. The clans weren't just invaders, they were splintered Zerathians, corrupted by a failed weaver activation long ago, seeking to destroy what they couldn't control. The twist layered deeper, our triad was the key to healing that rift, not through conquest, but redemption. Exhausted but triumphant, we collapsed as the entity's surge receded, bound but tamed, its power now ours to wield consciously. The chamber stabilized, orbs slowing their spin, but the surprise lingered in our eyes as we looked at each other anew. We were meant for this, Zara murmured, her voice laced with wonder. Lyra nodded, pulling us into an embrace that felt purer, unmanipulated. Yet questions remained, how to use this power against the clans. The night of discoveries had twisted into dawn, our story forever altered by this unforeseen revelation. As dawn's first light filtered through the chamber's crystalline vents, casting elongated shadows that danced like hesitant partners across the floor, the weight of our revelations settled over us like a cloak woven from equal parts triumph and trepidation. The weaver, now bound within our triad rather than looming as a puppeteer, pulsed subtly through the bond, a controlled hum that enhanced our senses without overwhelming them, like a distant melody underscoring our every thought. Lyra disentangled from our embrace first, her white hair catching the emerging glow, making her look like an ethereal queen rousing from slumber. Zara lingered against me a moment longer, her body warm and reassuring, before she too rose, her pointed ears perking up as if attuning to the chamber's shifting energies. The clans won't wait for us to catch our breath, I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind in my mind, pulling them both into a quick, affirming hug that sealed our resolve. We delved deeper into the heart's core, the orbs parting like courtiers before royalty, revealing hidden alcoves lined with ancient consoles that flickered to life at our approach. Lyra's fingers danced over one, her touch awakening holographic maps of Zerathia, once vibrant cities now shadowed by clan strongholds, the corruption spreading like ink in water. The drama escalated as the displays zoomed in on the approaching threat, a massive shadow clan fleet descending upon the planet, their ships blotting out the rising sun, drawn by the Weaver's brief surge during our confrontation. "They're here for the entity," Zara whispered, her voice laced with a dramatic quiver that echoed through the bond, heightening my own pulse. "And now that it's awakened in us, they'll tear this world apart to claim it." The bond amplified the urgency, sharing flashes of strategy, Lyra's tactical mind plotting defenses, Zara's intuition spotting weak points in the fleet's formation, and my human ingenuity suggesting guerrilla tactics born from Earth's old war stories. But as we synchronized our plans, an awkward hitch emerged, the Weaver, still adjusting to its tamed state, began projecting unsolicited assistance in the form of holographic simulations right in our midst. One popped up unbidden, depicting us in exaggerated bow poses, with me wielding a comically oversized plasma sword while the sisters floated like avenging angels. I snorted, trying to wave it away. Okay, that's helpful, but tone down the hero worship, Weaver. I'm not exactly Hercules here. Zara giggled, her hand covering her mouth, but Lyra flushed, the hologram zooming in on her form in a way that accentuated her curves a bit too enthusiastically. This is no time for artistic liberties, she muttered, swatting at the projection, which only made it glitch and replay a loop of our earlier intimate moments in the chamber, blurred, thankfully, but unmistakable. The awkwardness peaked as the simulation shifted to a victory scenario, showing us celebrating post-battle with embraces that bordered on the erotic, complete with dramatic slow motion and swelling music that sounded suspiciously like a Zerathian love ballad. My cheeks burned as I fumbled with the console to shut it down. Weaver, buddy, read the room. We're planning a war, not a romance novel. Zara burst into laughter, doubling over, her white skin tinged pink. Oh, Illy, look, it's got you blushing in the holo too. And is that confetti? Even Lyra cracked a smile, the humor slicing through the mounting drama like a well-timed quip, but the fleet's descent hologram overlaid it all, reminding us of the stakes. The clan's lead ship fired a warning shot, shaking the planet's surface far above, dust sifting from the ceiling like ominous snow. We burst from the heart's hidden exit onto a ridge overlooking the invasion, a dramatic vista of descending vessels spewing troops like dark rain, their armored forms marching toward the sanctuary. The bond surged, the Weaver's power infusing us with enhanced agility and perception, turning our triad into a force of nature. But drama has its twists. As we charged down the slope, the entity misfired again, amplifying our voices in a booming echo that announced our arrival like thunder. For Zerathia, Lyra shouted, but it came out as a deafening roar that startled a flock of alien birds into chaotic flight, one of which dive-bombed me in panic, its wings slapping my face. I flailed awkwardly, sputtering feathers from my mouth. Weaver, volume control. We're sneaking, not summoning a parade. Zara snickered mid-leap, her dagger flashing as she took down a scout, but the mishap alerted a patrol, turning our ambush into a full-on melee. The battle unfolded in a whirlwind of heightened drama, lasers scorching the air as we weaved through the invaders. Lyra channeled the Weaver into barriers of light, deflecting bolts with graceful sweeps, her form a beacon amid the chaos. Zara darted like a shadow, her blade enhanced to slice through armor, her movements synchronized with mine through the bond. I covered her flanks with precise rifle fire, the entity's aim assist making me feel like a legend. But awkward situations piled on. During a close-quarters grapple, the Weaver projected a helpful tutorial hologram over an enemy's head, outlining weak points in cartoonish arrows. The clan warrior paused, confused, staring at the floating diagram. What sorcery is this? He growled. I couldn't resist. It's called user-friendly tech, now die confused. I blasted him, but the hologram lingered, now showing a thumbs-up emoji, drawing unintended laughter from Zara even as she dodged a swing. The humor undercut the peril just enough to fuel our adrenaline, but the drama soared when the clan leader, a hulking figure we'd thought defeated earlier, emerged from the flagship. His body regenerated and augmented with stolen Weaver fragments, twisting his form into a grotesque hybrid of shadow and crystal. You cannot bind what was meant to consume. He bellowed, his voice a distorted chorus that resonated painfully through our bond. He unleashed tendrils of dark energy, clashing against our light shields in explosive bursts that shook the ground. Lyra staggered under the assault, the bond transmitting her strain, heightening the emotional stakes. I felt her fear, her love for Zara, her growing attachment to me, all fueling a desperate counterattack. In the fray, an awkward blunder nearly undid us. As I lunged to protect Zara from a flanking attack, the Weaver overcompensated, teleporting me a few feet too far, right into a mud puddle that splashed up dramatically, coating me head to toe in glowing slime. I slipped, sliding comically toward the leader, who stared in bewilderment. Human? Clown? He sneered. Zara howled with laughter despite the danger, hurling her dagger to cover me while Lyra pulled me up, her touch lingering amid the chaos. Only you could turn a battlefield into a slapstick show, Illy, she teased, but her eyes held a mix of exasperation and affection that warmed me through the muck. We regrouped, the triad synergy peaking. The Weaver, now finely tuned by our wills, amplified our assault. I channeled human creativity, rigging fallen clan tech into improvised explosives that boomed like fireworks, scattering their ranks. Zara's agility shone, flipping over enemies with enhanced grace, her laughter turning to fierce cries. Lyra orchestrated it all, her barriers evolving into offensive lances that pierced the leader's defenses. The drama climaxed as he grabbed Zara in a tentacle grip, squeezing with corrupted power that sent agony rippling through the bond. "Sister!" Lyra screamed, her voice breaking, the emotional torrent heightening my rage. I charged through the melee, slime and all, tackling him with amplified strength. We rolled in the dirt, his shadows clawing at me, but the bond flooded me with the sister's passion, Zara's fire burning away the pain, Lyra's wisdom guiding my strikes. In a humorous twist, the slime proved slippery, causing his tentacles to lose grip just as I headbutted his core. "Take that, you oversized octopus!" I yelled, the weaver projecting a victory fanfare that blared triumphantly, disorienting him further. Zara broke free, her dagger plunging home, and Lyra finished with a weaver-infused blast that shattered his form into dissipating shadows. As the remaining clans retreated, their fleet limping away under our sustained fire, we stood victorious atop the ridge, bodies aching but spirits soaring. The awkward holograms finally quieted, the weaver learning restraint from our feedback. Zara wiped slime from my cheek, her touch tender. "My heroic mess." Lyra joined, pulling us into a group embrace, the drama ebbing into relief tinged with humor. But as the sun rose fully, casting Zerathia in hopeful light, faint signals from the orbs hinted at lingering corruption, splinter groups hiding. Waiting, our triad, forged in fire and folly, faced an uncertain future. But together, with a dash of human whimsy, we were unbreakable. As the sun climbed higher over Zerathia's horizon, painting the ravaged landscape in strokes of amber and rose, the remnants of the Shadow Clan fleet limped into the void, their dark silhouettes fading against the canvas of stars like defeated ghosts retreating from the light. We stood there on the ridge, the three of us, Lyra, Zara, and I, our bodies marked by the scars of battle. Our spirits intertwined in ways that no force in the galaxy could sever. The weaver hummed contentedly within our bond now, a harmonious undercurrent rather than a domineering force, its power a tool we wielded together, balanced by the unique threads of our souls. Zara leaned against me, her head resting on my shoulder, her white hair tickling my neck in the gentle breeze, while Lyra stood tall beside us, her hand clasped in mine, her pointed ears attuned to the planet's awakening symphony, the distant calls of wildlife returning, the rustle of vines reclaiming the scorched earth. The drama of the invasion had ebbed, leaving behind a profound quiet that allowed us to breathe, to reflect on the path that had led us here. What began as a solitary explorer's crash landing had blossomed into something epic, a testament to the unyielding fire of humanity mingling with the ethereal grace of Zerathia. "We've done it," Zara murmured, her voice soft yet laced with wonder, her curvaceous form pressing closer as if to anchor herself in the reality of our victory. Lyra nodded, her pale skin glowing in the sunlight, her elegant garments torn but regal still, a symbol of resilience, not just survived. She added, turning to me with eyes that held the depth of galaxies, but reclaimed our world. "And you, Illy, you brought the spark that ignited it all." We descended the ridge slowly, our steps unhurried for the first time since my arrival, the bond sharing a collective sense of peace that washed away the lingering aches. The heart's entrance loomed below, its crystalline facade now pulsing with renewed vitality, drawing in scattered Zerathian survivors who emerged from hidden refuges, ethereal beings like the sisters, their bonds flickering to life as they approached. Word had spread through the planet's latent network. Carried by the weaver's whispers, the princesses had returned, empowered by an outsider's passion, and the clans were broken. As we entered the chamber once more, the orbs swirled in celebration, projecting visions not of war, but of restoration, cities rebuilding, alliances forming across the stars, and at the center, our triad as beacons of hope. Yet, even in triumph, threads of uncertainty wove through our thoughts. The clan's corruption stemmed from a fractured past, splintered kin twisted by failed experiments with the weaver's kin entities on other worlds. Through the bond, we felt the pull to heal that rift, to extend an olive branch rather than a blade. Not all shadows are eternal, Lyra reflected as we gathered around the core, her fingers tracing ancient runes that now responded to our unified will. Zara, ever the optimist, squeezed my hand. "With you here, Illy, we can show them the light, your human way, full of second chances and stubborn heart." I chuckled softly, pulling them both into an embrace, the warmth of their bodies against mine a reminder of how far we'd come from that fateful night in the forest. The days that followed blurred into a tapestry of renewal. We worked side by side with the survivors, the weaver amplifying our efforts, mending structures with waves of energy, healing wounds that ran deeper than flesh. Lyra took charge of diplomatic outreach, her wisdom guiding envoys to the clan's remnants, offering redemption through shared knowledge of the entity's true balance. Zara, with her playful spirit, organized communal gatherings, infusing them with joy that lightened heavy hearts, her laughter echoing through rebuilt halls, and I, the human interloper turned integral thread, brought innovations from Earth, simple yet effective, like solar arrays jury-rigged from scavenged tech to power the rebirth. The bond made it seamless. I felt their pride in my contributions, their love wrapping around my every action, turning labor into acts of affection. Intimacy wove through it all, not as fleeting escapes but as affirmations of our unity. In quiet evenings, under the canopy of stars that had once seemed so hostile, we'd retreat to private alcoves within the heart. Zara's touch would ignite the spark, her hands exploring with that curious mischief, her lips finding mine in kisses that deepened into shared breaths. Lyra joined with graceful intensity, her body molding to ours, the bond transmitting waves of sensation that built slowly, profoundly. We'd move together in rhythms born of trust, bodies entwining in ways that celebrated our differences, her elegant curves, Zara's lithe allure, my earthly strength, all blending in a dance of connection. The weaver enhanced without intruding, heightening the warmth, the closeness, until peaks of pleasure left us breathless, entangled in contented silence, the chamber's glow mirroring the afterglow in our souls. One such night, as we lay wrapped in each other's arms, the orbs humming softly around us, Zara traced patterns on my chest, her voice a whisper against my skin. "Do you miss your stars, Illy? Earth calls to wanderers like you." The question hung gently, laced with vulnerability that tugged at the bond. Lyra lifted her head, her white hair cascading like moonlight, her eyes searching mine. I pulled them closer, feeling the depth of our link, their fears of loss, my own pull toward home, all mingling into resolve. "Earth will always be part of me," I admitted, my hand cupping Zara's cheek, thumb brushing her adorable pointed ear. "But you've become my home. Humanity's fire burns brightest when shared, and here, with you, it blazes eternal." The final pieces fell into place as envoys returned with news, splinter clan leaders, touched by the weaver's balanced essence we shared remotely through projections, pledged allegiance, their corruption purged in rituals echoing our own taming. Zerathia united, beacon for the galaxy, with our triad at its heart, not as rulers, but as guardians. I sent a signal back to Earth through my repaired ship, a message of discovery and alliance, inviting humanity to join this new era. "We've conquered more than enemies," Lyra said during the ceremony that formalized our bond publicly, her voice carrying across gathered crowds, her hand in mine and Zara's. "We've conquered division with passion as our guide." As time flowed onward, our story became legend, whispered among stars, the night a human discovered passion in alien sisters' bond, sparking a chain that saved worlds. We explored together new planets, deeper intimacies, endless adventures, our triad unbreakable, a fusion of Zerathian grace and human grit. As Zara would tease, who knew a crash landing could lead to this? Lyra would smile, pulling us close, and I'd reply, "Humanity. Fuck yeah, we turn accidents into destiny." And so, as the suns set on Zerathia, casting long shadows that danced in harmony rather than conflict, we faced the future not as three, but as one bound by love, forged in fire, eternal in the vast tapestry of the cosmos. And so, in the endless cycles of Zerathia's suns and moons, our story became a beacon for all who dared to dream across the stars, a tale of passion discovered, bonds unbreakable, and humanity's fire illuminating the unknown. As the storyteller, I personally love how this HFY adventure blends epic sci-fi with heartfelt romance, showing that true strength comes from connection, not conquest. What do you think? Could a human like Ali really change an alien world? Thank you all for joining this journey. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are the biggest motivation for us to create even better stories. See you in the next tale.